Yo, welcome to the Weird Perspective, man. My name is Darry. I'm with my broham, Eddie. Thank you guys, man. Thank you guys for joining us. If this is your first time watching or listening, for our podcast listeners, we thank you so much. We really appreciate it. On this podcast, we talk sports, we talk some politics, we talk entertainment, and we talk life. We talk about the hot events, and we talk world news. But our hope and our mission is to give you a biblical worldview. This is the Weird Perspective Podcast. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm back at the crib. As you guys can see, last week I was house sitting for my godbrother. Him and his wife was on a little vacay to, I think they went to Florida, and we were just holding the crib down, mainly watching the dog. They took a road trip. They drove out there, so we were holding down the dog. So last episode you seen, I was in his kids' room recording, but I'm back at the crib now. Man,
you had all the colors in there, man.
I had Spider-Man posters, Pokemon posters, all that, dude. I was representing. It was going down. It was very, very colorful, and Kitty made me feel alive and young and innocent again. But now I'm back at the crib.
You brought some color with you, though.
You already know. So I definitely had to watch that. I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of people have. We got Black Panther 2. The official trailer just dropped.
It's on the way.
And they moved it up. It's not in February of 2023 no more. It's in November of this year. So we got a couple months. So I had to break out some of the old attire, right? The Wakanda Forever shirt, you know. Give my T'Challa, what's his name? T'Challa on. I almost just butchered that whole name. And then I had the young, the red and gold Bulls had to go with it. Nice. So I'm gonna be up in that. I probably won't wear this. I'll probably wear something else, but I'm definitely gonna be representing Wakanda.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling
that, man. Black power to the people, all those things.
Alrighty, I see you.
Hey, I know some people probably heard that just now and probably got like mad offended because they're like, they support Disney or. It's some weird.
We can't get into all that, no, man.
I don't want to get into it. I just want to tell them people that I love y'all and God bless y'all. But it's just, it's a conviction thing, but it's definitely a maturity thing, man. Like as a believer, like, bro, they're talking about other gods and stuff. It's like they ain't telling me to worship them. Like it's just a movie, fam. Like it's fiction.
Right. You gotta have the right maturity.
Oh man, I be having these conversations with people weekly. It'd be crazy the stuff that people be saying. But anyway, whatever, you a believer, you support Disney or not, I'm gonna be there with my whole family, rocking some type of Black Panther shirt, maybe a hat, and we're gonna be up in there, Wakanda Forever in November. And it's going down. So I'm super excited. I still haven't seen Thor yet, which is a big surprise because I'm normally, when it comes to
you normally
Thor
you're up to date.
We usually make it like an event out of it, but I haven't, man. And I was super excited to see Thor, but it's like now I'm just like, It's just like, Like I see it when I see it. I haven't watched any reviews because I didn't want to ruin it for me. So I tend to stay away from those until I watch it. But I heard it was, I'm hearing things, it's good, it's bad, whatever. But I'm like, I ain't gonna watch no reviews. I got my key guys that I go to on YouTube that give me pretty good, accurate reviews on movies. They point out like hidden things that you might have not noticed and stuff like that. They're like super nerds for the Marvel stuff. So I'll get into it, but. Yeah,
that's definitely exciting though, man. I'm excited for that too. Black Panther 2. That's I know my son's big on it. He's kind of slowly but surely getting into his characters and getting to know, all these characters we grew up with, and so he's excited for it.
You got number one. Did you catch your family up on like phase 1 and phase 2? Because
can we skip over that?
right, we gonna
I was just gonna say this though, man. Like, I don't blame you for not being up to date, man. I mean, we got our busy lives, dude. I mean, between us two, we got a football team, bro. Like, seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, the only one I'm behind on is Thor. I pretty much, and Moonlight. I wasn't interested in watching Moonlight, so
yeah.
Other than that, I'm pretty up to date on like the major ones. Even like Miss Marvel, we watched that one with TJ was really into Miss Marvel. But for you, we're gonna pray for you, man. We ain't gonna talk about it right now, man. We'll get into it another time, man.
For me, if it ain't sports or some type of like documentary on something, like my interest, it doesn't really gain my interest like that. So
yeah. I know. Speaking of sports, I mean, we didn't even talk about this one, but your girl Amanda Nunes, her last name Nunes.
Nunez. Yeah,
she got her belts, bro. First woman in the UFC with 2 of them things, bro. And I heard she dominated, left the old girl leaking.
Yeah. It was a good fight though. Like I guess she kept the fight going, and it went all 5 rounds.
Yeah, old girl wasn't giving up though.
It looked like she was about to get her out of there, and then she kept letting old girl get up, and
she knocked her down 5 times in southpaw. I don't think old girl was ready for her to go southpaw.
But shout out to Juliana Pena though. She's from the Chi though.
So she's from the Chi.
She's repping dog.
All right, man. Well, she got to go have some more like gang fights or something. She could be ready.
Now they're talking about having the trilogy, so that's gonna be really exciting. Hopefully.
So, do you think old girl Amanda is she like undisputed, like the best?
She's the best
fighter of all time.
By far. Yeah, by far.
Of all time.
By far. Yeah. I think what's old girl's name? I forgot her name. We should know this, man.
You talking about Holly Holmes? Or what's old girl name?
No, Holly Holm beat her. Then she retired and we forgot all about her, dude.
She went to
Ronda
WWE,
Rousey,
bro. Ronda Rousey. There you go.
Ronda Rousey. She was up there, but Amanda Nunes has just beat everybody. I mean, everybody put in front of her, she's beaten. So she's by far, I guess you can say, the GOAT of women's UFC MMA.
Yeah, it was. My phone was buzzing like crazy. Like YouTube videos and ESPN app was like just nonstop talking about her all last night. So that's pretty cool, man. I didn't watch the fight. I just caught some highlights. YouTube they put out like the bootleg version of the fight.
Yeah.
Somebody recorded they recorded their screen with their phone. You only could see part of it. I was trying to like watch a little bit of that, but it was so bad. I was just like, never mind. I just watched the highlights, but it was some pretty good highlights. It was a cool fight, man. I'm happy that she won. So she did her thing.
It's always good, man, when we get to kind of just relax and watch some fights and get some entertainment going. I always enjoy those moments, man. Just it's de-stressing for me, man. So
what's the big dude, the black dude, the one that came out? He was like, my balls is high. What's his name? He fought too. The big dude.
Lewis?
Did he win? Yeah, Lewis. Did he win?
That's a good question. I didn't even see that one.
I ain't even checked the scorecard.
I only caught the last 2 fights. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Well, moving on, man. We want to really quick, man. This just broke today.
He knocked them out in the first round. So Derek Lewis did win.
Derek Lewis, for sure. Want to like kind of switch tempos a little bit and take our hats off and send our condolences to the family. Bill Russell passed away today, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just found this out.
Pioneers, man, the NBA.
Yeah, about 5 hours ago, I was chilling at my in-laws and he brought it up. And my wife's grandfather, he's 93 years old, so I'm like, Bill Russell passed away. I'm like, what? I haven't really looked at my phone. Mm-hmm. I was at the kids and running around today, and then I looked. I was like, sure enough. Bill Russell passed away today, man. I didn't read any articles or catch what happened or how he passed away, but
right.
Yeah, man. R.I.P. to one of the GOATs and one of the most winning, as far as championships go. one of the most winning players in NBA history. And yeah, man, they had just gave him like a trophy or something like that a couple years ago. He had his own like a reward. But yeah, Bill Russell passed away, man. So R.I.P. to him, and our love and prayers go out to his family. And
yeah, I don't think it's stated. It says, let's see, he died peacefully with his wife. Yeah, they said it's just it seems like, I think it's pointing to like a heart attack or something, or maybe something like in his sleep or something like that.
Did it say his age in there?
88.
88. Man.
Yeah, he was 88. That's a good life, man. If you can live to that long, right?
Yeah, so many people dying from, so younger than that. Well, like I said, man, our love and our prayers go out to the family, and yeah, man, that was it's a tough loss. But we wanna I don't even know how to transition and to get back into being like excited, but this is season 1, episode 12 of the Weird Perspective podcast, and this is our season final.
It's our finale, dude.
Man. This is a finale.
Yeah.
So
we probably should have opened up with that.
Probably should open up with
welcome
that.
Welcome to the season finale. How about
welcome.
That?
I mean, this is an unscripted podcast, so sometimes you forget stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
definitely.
This is man, we got 12 episodes of a podcast officially under our belt. Man. So
that's it. I'm waiting for my little plaque to come in the mail. And
I know we need that, man. If people start liking and subscribing, we can get one of them things.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I want to recap the season, man. So I want to talk about right now, what are some of the things that you learned during this whole experiment, bro, of podcasting? Like, what are some of the things, top 3 things that man, you've learned just going into this thing? Because I mean, we came in fresh. Like, it was just like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Like, hey, let's do a podcast. I like, we don't have no communications background, no schooling. I don't even really like publicly speaking like that, you know what I'm saying? But I was just had this urge to do it. I thought it would be fun to do it with you. And so, yeah, man, what are some of the things that you learned during this
and see, not to kind of jump on your on you, but to your credit, man, I think God is just kind of transitioning you and working in your life in a sense, man. It kind of transitioned you because obviously I've seen from both of us being in ministry and seeing the early Darry in ministry and having to publicly speak in front of the altar, in front of the church, having to address the church. Man, I remember the rough
We'll
time.
talk about that.
Yeah. But I don't think it's ironic, man, that it's transitioned to a podcast now. And I want to tip my hat off to you, man. This is a season finale, obviously. Just the beginning for us. Because obviously we're going to jump into another season and things are just going to go up from here. But to your credit, man, public speaking, the clarity, everything, man. You got the whispers in the dark going on. It's smooth to the ear.
Man.
No, nevertheless, man. Yeah. Man, I think so I guess my learning for me specifically, not so much on the speaking, but in the sense of like it takes structure, man. It takes preparation, because you can be as confident as you can, thinking that a podcast you can just kind of wing it. But when you're talking specifically about content and topics, and the clarity and trying to define things, it gets difficult. And you can just, I know that was my learning curve. Like, you can just go in a circle and you think you were gonna nail this thing, and you're going in circles trying to define like this small little word like love or something. This is like, man, you just defined like 4 different things and you still ain't said it.
Yeah.
But it takes structure, man. It really, and you know what? I think I should have been a little bit more prepared, because coming from a political office, like, it's all about scripting. It's all about preparing politicians to speak publicly. Like, I should have taken a little bit more notes in that sense, but never was it my role. But I should have taken more notes and maybe kind of taken a page out of my previous experience. So yeah, that would be my two. Like, it takes structure and preparation, and then obviously I think the clarity in how you define things, and maybe saying the word that's a learning.
Yeah, definitely.
Repeated repetitions, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess the constant reminder, I think, is important, of specifically for us, right? We come with the biblical perspective. I think it's a little bit more of a priority, important for us to be able to have that structure and preparation, because we're not literally just coming from a personal experience perspective, but we're also trying to give people the absolute truth, which comes directly from the Bible, and so that does take a certain level of preparation, and obviously self-examination, like your spiritual walk, right? Kind of just examining as you're preparing. You're like, dang, I never knew this stuff. When you're doing research, you're trying to get all these things kind of in line. You learn a lot. So it's been a kind of a self-reflecting thing as well. I think that would be my third thing I learned. Like, it's a real big eye-opener to kind of self-reflect, and also be able to apply these things to yourself, right? If you're giving it out to the public, you want to just make sure that obviously you're trying to live it out as best as you can in your personal life. So yeah, that'll be my three, man, that I learned. And my top three topics that we touched on, man, our episodes were real love, unity, and marriage is dope. So those are my favorite, my top three.
I don't know if I don't have a favorite like episode, not yet. I probably have to go back and listen to the season all over again to actually pick what episode was my favorite. But the things that I've learned though is that talking takes practice. It's just like you said, if you coming off the cuff is one thing. It's just like, here's my opinion about something, and then you keep it moving.
Right.
But to give your opinion, and then to give, like you said, to give absolute truth, to give the Bible and be able to explain the Bible accurately, man, that stuff takes practice.
Yeah.
That stuff, you can't just be like, hey, I'm gonna do it, man. You just push record, and then you just start talking about stuff, and then stuff just comes out. No. Yeah. Even though like it's not scripted, it's still like you still gotta prepare. You still gotta, and somehow have some notes on deck, some talking points like on deck. You can't just be like, I'm gonna just wing this whole thing. Otherwise, you get into talking in circles, you get into rabbit trails, and then you're off talking. You were talking about Jesus, now you're off talking about Thor.
Yeah.
It's just like, what happened? So, yeah, man, talking takes practice, and so probably like the last maybe 4 or 5 episodes, I really just like practice like what I'm gonna say. Like, I'll be shaving my head and I just be going over stuff. Like in the mirror, I see my facial expressions and how I'm pronouncing things.
That's good.
And then listening to my voice and hearing myself talk back. It took a long time for me to get used to hearing myself talk, because for a long time I didn't like how my voice sounded. I probably still don't, but I can tolerate it now. And I guess as I was reading up on it, I guess it's a thing that a lot of people deal with. They don't like to hear themselves speak. I know my wife doesn't like it. Even my pastor, he doesn't like hearing himself speak neither. It's just, he's like, it's a struggle for them to go back and like hear themselves speak. So, yeah, but that was the same thing for me. I don't like hearing myself speak, even though I've done like music for fun. I still have like those records. I play them back and I'm like, like not just the content was terrible, just like my voice and the cadence and all those things. And so still learning, still practicing what makes how to flow, as they say, in this podcast thing. And then chemistry is definitely important. That's a big thing as well. Chemistry. So I mean, we've been friends for almost 2 decades, and we talk about stuff. And so just transitioning this into in front of a camera now, there's some adjustments, but not much. We just talk, you know what I'm saying?
It's a little bit smoother for us.
Yeah, it's a little bit smooth. I couldn't imagine doing this. Somebody else, I'm like, it's gonna take time to build up that chemistry, learn when the other person is going off track, when you gotta will them back in, or knowing when to stop, knowing when to move on, that type of stuff. Yeah. So that was a big thing. And then audio, like your mics, it's a big thing. Like those first couple episodes
were rough.
Rough to listen to. Like, man, we gotta hurry up and get these mics, man, and invest. And so invest in a good mic so you can sound clear, so it sounds good. You don't need to go and buy like a $400 mic. You can get the $70 joint off Amazon. It sounds pretty good. Those are the ones that we use, and they're pretty good. They're working. So
definitely.
But that's the learning. And then my favorite parts, it's more of like the freedoms that we have, right, doing a podcast. So being able, the freedom to talk about whatever we want to talk about. Like I said, we run the show. We come up with the topics that we want to talk about, and we have the freedom to talk about whatever we want to talk about, how we want to talk about it, and being able to just structure an episode the way that we want to. That's amazing, because we're not having to follow a script, memorize things. We don't got to do any of that stuff. And then just the freedom of schedule. Like, hey man, family vacation, peace. I'll see you when you get back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Location. This is in my little office, right? Little corner of my office. So I don't have to go anywhere. Doing it remote is cool. Eventually I do want to have a setup where we can go to so we can do it in person. I think it'd even be more fun. But as of right now, this works. You know what I'm saying? And so just the freedoms that come with being able to do a podcast and stuff like that. And so those are my takeaways from the season, man.
Yeah. And the freedom, like you're saying, that freedom to be able to talk about how God has worked in our life and be able to use our personal experience and be able to freely speak our religion, and freely talk about the Bible. That's a blessing within itself, because we know in other countries that ain't true. That we know there's underground churches and God knows what else, man, in other countries like China, where they don't have the freedoms we have. So obviously this is a privilege, it's an honor, it's a blessing, and it's also fun, right? I think I think some people might get caught up when you start structuring dialogue or things like a podcast. You can kind of fall off and get more religious, or more you start thinking about it as a business. I'm grateful that we try not to fall into that, right? We structure, but there's also the freedom, but having fun with it, right? Just, man, being a Christian is fun. And I think that's one of the consensus behind our podcast, right? Look at us, we got some throw clothes on, we looking fresh, we got jewelry on. It's just the freedom, man. We love Jesus just as much as a dude in a suit, and just kind of breaking the barrier of those stereotypes and things like that, man. So I agree with you on that sense, that the freedom is a blessing, man, and it's super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we getting into today, man? Even though this is the season finale, we still gonna bring you guys a topic, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be light, but it might be a little challenging as well. We try to have all 3 components in there. So what we getting into today, Eddie? What we talking about?
Our main topic for today is God and money.
Ooh, God and money.
That's
man.
touchy right there, man. That's touchy.
Dude, some people are like, don't talk to me about my God. How I serve my God is how I serve him. You don't talk about him. Don't bring him up. Let me do my thing. And definitely don't talk to me about my money. Don't touch my money. Don't look at my money. Don't be counting my money because it's my money. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to talk about this.
It's definitely, those are two definite things, man, that, if you don't learn in life that those are the two things, man, that for some reason or another, man, you bring up some type of religion or God to somebody and their personal beliefs, and then you start talking about their money. You know what's funny is that I had a weird kind of funny conversation with my daughter about 2 weeks ago. We're just driving in the car and we're going to the store. She's like, Papi, can you take me to the mall? I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. Like you got money. Like she's been saving her money. So I'm just like, all right, cool. So not to go on a rabbit trail, but I asked her, right, just out of curiosity, I'm like, man, I wonder if she has enough money. I want her to, if she's going to go to the store, maybe I can help her out. Maybe I bless her, with a little something more. I'm like, well, baby, how much money you got? Do you know the answer I got, dude? Like, why do you want to know? I'm like, what? Whoa. I kind of got offended. I got offended. Like, why do I want to know?
Girl, you going to the mall. This stuff in the mall ain't cheap. This ain't Walmart or Target. Now, this the mall.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just want to know that, you got enough. And hey, if you don't, maybe there's a reason why I'm asking. And sure enough, just like we're bringing up, it was more of like, I'd rather not say. It's mine. I'm just like, wait a minute. What are we doing here, yo? Wait a minute.
Yo, you start early, bro.
Yeah, man. You can't teach, man. I'm telling you. But man. You grow that attachment to things like that, and man, forget it. You'll start seeing some greed. You'll start seeing some pride. God knows what else. So, but nevertheless, yeah, man, this God and money, it is the two critical. Yeah, these are two critical topics we're gonna touch on, man. And so I'll let you go ahead and open, because I know you have a lot to kind of come off, and then I'll chime in. I'm going to be coming from an article. I'm going to be sharing a quote from it, and then obviously we'll jump into some scripture and some biblical application as far as what the Bible talks about.
Give people a little bit of background on like my perspective of money. So like when I was in high school, everywhere I went, everywhere I've read, everything that I've read, the music that I listened to, the TV shows that I watched, every conversation that I had about money, it was all from like a worldly perspective. It was always, and everything was always telling me how to manage my money, which didn't line up with God's word, right? And so in high school, I didn't know, because I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't practicing. I wasn't going to the Bible for wisdom and knowledge and understanding in these topics, right, of money. I was just doing my thing, right? I was literally a product of my environment, right? Even with my mom, right? And she might hear this, but Mom, I love you. But my mom had her philosophy with me in certain areas was like, hey, like, take care of your credit. And that's it. Like, like that awkward pause that we just had. Like, I was waiting for like more. Like, okay, take care of my money. How? Yeah. Never got the how. It just was like, take care of your money, or take care of your credit. And it was just like, well, can you tell me how to do that? My dad used to do the same thing. He used to be like, hey man, go to school, man, be good. He never told me what being good was. How do I be good? What does that look like? What does that mean to be good? Like none of those things, right? It was just like good. And then it was like, okay, my definition of being good was like, I got to be the best fighter. Anybody say anything to me, I'll be the best. I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna roast you. I'm gonna talk about you, whatever it was. I'm gonna be the best at something. I'm gonna be good at something. But you know, and then when you add the everything else in there, like advertisements, like you see everywhere. We watch basketball, we love sports. So when you see like athletes and what they're doing, everything is telling you how to do with your money, even like subconsciously, even when they're not trying to. Like, man, you get successful, you got to get this car, right? You got to get this house. You know what I'm saying? You get these things, you'll get the girl, and you'll be able to buy these shoes and wear these clothes. And it literally, the world like dictates to you how to get money and then what to spend that money on. And you would subconsciously adopt this mindset of, okay, this is what I spend money on. And so when you see like the rich and famous, you see people, Floyd Mayweather, dude, they don't need these big dumb houses that they got. Yeah. Dude got 2 kids and you got 20 bedrooms. Why? But that's because that's what America sells you. Yeah. The American dream is to get money as much as you can and buy a whole bunch of stuff that you do not need. And that is, you do that. And then for us average folks, like you work and then you retire and you have a 401k and you do all these things. You take a couple vacations, you know what I'm saying? Do a couple things with the family and all that stuff. But ultimately, like, that's what the world tells us is what we do with our money.
Yeah. It's probably one of the worst things, right? It's to validate yourself based on like, you know, how much money you got, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of feel validated. I think that's what the world kind of shows. Like you were saying, like you have to validate that, right? If they call you a millionaire, it's almost like,
I gotta look like one.
Right, you gotta look like one, right? You gotta fit the mold, right? So if you're not validated, if you don't, it's like, that's the wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously you want you can get the nicer things because you're blessed and you're privileged in that sense, but it's wrong if you're doing it just to validate, you know what I mean? And kind of fill that void, or whatever the case how you want to put that. Yeah. But that is interesting. That was a good point you made.
Yeah, I think the side note, right? This one article that I read this, and I read this like years ago. This was back when I first started going to church, and it was this billionaire from I can't remember where he's from, but he was overseas, like from Africa or something like that. Mm-hmm. And dude wasn't flashy. He had no jewelry. Mm-hmm. He wore the most basic plain clothes, not name brand. Dude had like some like Payless shoes on, like some Kmart or Walmart specials, like nothing flashy. He didn't have a Mercedes Benz. He didn't have a Phantom, and he could afford all these things. Yeah. But he gave a lot of his money away to like less fortunate villages and things like that. He took care of a lot of people. He did not flaunt his money. You would look at him and be like, yeah, that dude ain't no billionaire. But that dude was a billionaire, like a real billionaire, bro. Like, he had money. And the toxic, right, mindset of America and how we should have money, man, dude, it leads us to a lot of greed, dude. It leads us to a lot of poverty, and it leads us to debt. And ultimately, it leads us to be in slavery. Not like slavery like back in the day, but like slavery where, dude, we always owe people money. We got all these credit cards, man, and because we want to buy things and we want to keep up with the Joneses. And instead of using a credit card for like an emergency or to build up your credit, you know what I'm saying? So you can buy a house or buy a new car and not have a high interest rate, stuff like that. Man, we just be like, man, Joe, like my kids going to school, but they got to have the Jordans. Yeah. So I'm swiping a credit card. And it just leads us into all of these things, bro, of how we just misuse money. And it leads, again, like I said, to greed, bro. Yeah. And then just largest of amounts of debt for no reason. All because we wanted to spend $300 on some Jordans. Yeah. That's so crazy to me, man. And so I've been going through my own journey, because I'm not going to come on here like I'm holier than thou when it comes to money, because, I mean, you know probably more than anybody in my life personally, that I've had my fights with money, right? And so, because I grew up like keeping up with the Joneses, man. You gotta have the Jordans, you gotta have the name brand clothes, and you gotta have all that. If I'm gonna have anything, I'm gonna look fly. Yeah. I ain't got no money in my pocket, but I'm gonna look like I do.
You gonna look like $1 million for real.
I'm gonna look like I belong in that Phantom.
Yeah.
But man, it just leads to so as I was going through and I was preparing for this, man. Well, wait, before I get into that, like I said, I had my own fights with money. And so, man, I grew up, like, I wasn't poor, definitely wasn't rich. It was like middle class. Like a teenager probably was like upper middle class. My mom, she did the best she could. She married, we moved to the burbs. My stepdad had his own business and he was doing really well for himself. My mom was working a really good job, making, really good money, and we were able to move out of where we were. And for the most part, I never went without. I never went with like, food or like, lights or utilities in the crib being off. I can't remember any of those things. Like, we always had, Christmas was always a gang of presents under the tree. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really have any of those memories. Like I said, I know we wasn't rich, but my mom, we were okay. You know what I'm saying? And so I started to think about that stuff and just how that morphed me and my perspective on money as I became an adult and I had my own daughter. And it was like, man, what I supposed to do now? And I didn't have anybody pull me to the side and say, look, man, this is how you manage your money. This is how you're going to go about it. And it just sent me down the wrong path when it comes to money. Thank God for this book, though. Like, I have heard about this guy for so long, Dave Ramsey. I don't even know if we're supposed to be having this book up. I don't know what YouTube's going to say. But anyway, the name Dave Ramsey is the Total Money Makeover. There's a hard book, and then there's like the workbook that you actually write your budget down and all that stuff. So started reading this like, I think last year.
Yeah.
And it was an eye-opener to a whole lot of things that I was doing wrong. Even as a 30-year-old man, how old was I last year? 32 year old.
Speaking of that, man, somebody got a birthday coming around the corner now.
Oh yeah, it is about to be August tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I already know. But anyway, started to like, let me get some advice from somebody who does this for a living, like an expert, but an actual expert, right? Millions of testimonies of people that have applied these basic principles, right, to their lives and their finances and how they were able to get out of debt. Not just get out of debt, but they have like what he calls an emergency fund, right? So you got like 3 months, 6 months emergency fund. If you lose your job, all your bills are paid. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to pay your bills for at least 6 months to hold you over until you can find another job. Yeah. So he talks about all these basic things in this book. If you guys want all the details, you guys can go read this book for yourself and do all that. But I took like some points from it, and this is like not in order, and I want us to talk about like some of these points, man. And I'll just name them off and then we'll get into them individually. But it's providing, tithing, giving, building, and enjoying.
That's good.
Enjoying I was like, enjoying? Like, yes, enjoy your money. But all these are from a biblical perspective and God's purpose and plans for money. Why does he give us money? What we should do with it. And so I want to dive into that, bro. What is your upbringing with money? I talked about mine. I talked a whole lot just now. I want to let the people know about your history with money and where you are now.
Yeah. So a lot. Yeah. I mean, we were similar in the sense that, we grew up with barely, just enough to kind of get by. And obviously we lacked a lot more knowledge, man, from our parents. And perhaps maybe we, there's not any blame on them, right? Because they were never taught the right way. But yeah, a lot like you, it was the same. It was the same concept of how they taught us. It was like, hey, take care of your money or save it. And it was like, but what do I do when I save it? They never taught you principles like the purpose of saving or saving to invest, right? None of these things were brought out. They weren't informed. So therefore we weren't informed. Right. But I think to kind of take a positive from it is that you definitely learn how to do a lot with little, and you definitely learn how to be content in not having a lot, right? You learn how to be content with just what you got, and try to get by and just be content with it. But that was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot. And the irony is that there was money. I think because I kind of grew up more with my mother's side of the family, which they were just kind of less informed as far as money and how to save and invest and all these different things. I kind of just gravitated and was raised with more of those principles. But on my dad's side of the family, they had a better concept. I think they were more of a money-saving family because my grandmother, coming from Puerto Rico and bringing her family over from Puerto Rico, she brought them over to kind of give them the better life and the opportunity here. But back in Puerto Rico, it was less about money and it was more about working and learning how to be content, and everything is provided for physically in the home. But it was more of obviously in Puerto Rico is an island, it's more agriculturally driven. So you're not necessarily, you're working for money, but in a sense, everything that you're working for as far as food and providing for the means of feeding your family is strictly based off working the fields, working the agriculture and all these different things. And then having just barely enough to kind of buy clothing and things like that. So they came here with that mindset. And then I think once they gravitated here, on that side of the family, I think they were just a little bit more, I guess, eager and kind of like they got some opportunities, a lot of city workers and things like that. So that side of the family kind of, they just got accustomed to the life of, the U.S. a lot faster. And they're more of a saving, more of I guess you could say they're better at saving money. And that's not something that I grew up with, though. I kind of just had a knowledge of them. I would spend some time with them. I never gravitated to that. But never, it's the same concept too, that when they taught us like, hey, you shouldn't drink. Hey, you shouldn't smoke. And it was like, why? But the concept behind that was like, man, your actions though, like watching my mom struggle for so long, forgive me, Mom. Watching my mom struggle for so long, it was just like, but why?
I can hear her right now. Oh my goodness, Eddie.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Yeah. It was just like, it was like, do what I say, but not what I do.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't have any actions or fruit that said, man, you're a great saver. You're investing your money. You're well off. You're in a good position. This is how you should do it. It was just like, this is what's taught to me. So that whole cliche thing of just do what I say and not what I do was pretty much the concept of how I grew up. And obviously it's the wrong thing. We're still learning in ourselves. Yeah. But yeah, to that point, that was, I know it's kind of a brief, but there wasn't really much. Money really wasn't mentioned in my home, whether it had been my grandparents or my mother. It was more of being grateful and being content with what you have. And I think that's the product of who I am now. But in the sense, I think we are, obviously this generation is a lot more informed. We have so many more opportunities and things that we're learning now, like investing and so many avenues to try to grow your money and things like that, and make moves and how to buy homes and going through this process and that process, all these different things. Like, everything's at our fingertips, so we don't have an excuse. But
what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
bruh. Like, just people making money off of this right here.
Yeah.
Just, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, and then they just be making videos, and then it just takes off. 1 million views overnight, bro.
Nonsensical things, man. Nonsense.
Yeah, that too. You know, drama sells. Like, we trying to give people information and, you know, positive content, and nobody want to subscribe. But let us start talking about, like, women twerking or like drama.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They say sex sells. We start talking about sex and stuff, giving people sex advice, bro. We have all type of subscribers, bro. People won't be ready, but that's season 2. That's season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Do these things that I found out about, like, in this book, and why God prioritized these things. And so getting into this first one of providing. The very first thing, man, that God tells us as men, that we have to provide. It is our responsibility. So I've heard somebody like this, they said it's like an American thing, talking about like providing and men and how the systems that we have in place here. It was some weird stuff, but I was like, what? They were talking about women should provide just as much, and it was a whole thing. But anyway, I was like, what's this dude talking about, man? Like, no, like, God calls the men to provide.
Right.
A lot of the commandments that he gave, as far as household structures, raising of the kids, he gives that to the men. He doesn't give it to the women, dude. Tony Evans did an amazing video on breaking that down. You can go and like probably find it on YouTube or something. But anyway, providing, man. And so providing for ourselves and for our families. Like, this is at the top of the list. And even to the point where God says that, if you don't provide for your family, you are worse than an unbeliever.
Yeah.
And so from a biblical perspective, I don't know what's worse than an unbeliever. Like, that person is destined for hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We talk about
that. Re-encouraged me, man. But when I heard that scripture again, I seriously, I was just like re-encouraged, like, yo, I gotta work a little bit more.
Like, man, we found another job, bro.
Man.
Like, a person who doesn't provide for his family, he's talking about his immediate family, like his wife and his kids, or anybody. Right. Some translations say, like, even in his whole, provide for his household. So if you got your mom or your brother or whoever's living with you, dude, if you don't provide for them, it says you're worse than an unbeliever, dude. You can find that verse. That's 1 Timothy 5:8.
Yeah.
1 Timothy 5:8, dude. And so this is like the most fundamental thing that we can do with our money. This is the starting point. This is the basic level of providing for our wives, for our children, right? Our families. Us as men, we're called to do this. This is a commandment from the Lord to provide. And if you don't provide, you worse than an unbeliever. I didn't say it. Jesus said it. So you take that up with him. But that is a gut punch of a verse, dude.
Yeah. Not only that, in Genesis, you see that obviously the fallen man, right, of Adam and Eve, those are part of the consequences of their actions, right, for sinning, right? It was by the sweat of his brow, man should plow the field and earn his wages, you know? So that's a principle for men in itself. And I think that's obviously, it's so encouraging for us to kind of just rehear that and be encouraged to continue to be motivated to do what we do, to make sure that we're providing for our families and making sure that things are in order, because that's a principle that comes straight from God. I don't want to stand before God in the end like, yo, I was a deadbeat. I didn't like the work, like nobody want to face God in that,
Yeah.
let alone be called an unbeliever. Like what?
Yeah. and it goes so deep because if we don't do the basic thing of providing for our family, if we're making money but we're not spending it properly on our family like we're supposed to, dude, you start veering off into all other stuff. You start spending your money making it rain at the strip club, right? You start buying cars that you don't need. You start buying jewelry that you don't need. Dude, you just start veering off. And so the very foundation the very first command that we're given as men over a household is to provide. And if you're not doing that, you just start to veer off into other stuff. I've seen it firsthand in people who literally, dude, they got all the gadgets and gadgets, bro. Every Apple product that comes out, they have it. The phone, they get the new phone every year. Every time a new laptop comes out, they got the desktop, they got the tablet. Yeah. But dude, they're not providing for their kids. And their kids are like struggling. They're not even providing their kids with information on how to take care of themselves as an adult. So like the providing aspect goes deeper than just, hey, give your kids some money or just give them a roof over their head. But are you providing them with information, like with life lessons on how to live? Are you providing them with the Bible, right? With the gospel, how to have a relationship with Jesus? Are you doing any of these things? Are you providing them with your time, right? Loving on them and stuff like that. And so, and it goes deep, dude. The providing, it goes deep. And so I know for me and myself, like it's always been a challenge, like, and challenging myself to provide, right? To, like right now I'm in a season where, dude, I want a house. And I just don't want just any old house just to say I got a house. Like I want a house that me and my family can fit in comfortably. And like you said in the beginning of this podcast, man, we got a football team amongst us, right? I got a starting 5. It's 7 of us, me, my wife, and 5 kids. So I can't just get like, the little 2-3 bedroom house. You know what I'm saying? I need the 4 with options to expand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so there's like a different degree of like pressure on me. Like you got to provide the space for your kids to live in and grow and stuff like that. And so then like, it's a personal conviction that I have for myself. Like when I do take that leap into buying a house, I want to make sure that I get it right. I don't want to go through the thing that I went through last time where you already know how jacked up that situation was. But man, providing, dude, it's the foundation. It's the key element. It's the beginning of how we do. We're not going to be able to do the rest of these things until we start with this first. Right. Providing for your wife and your kids and your household. Then you'll be able to get into these other things that we're going to get into. And so that is the first step in God's plan for money, is that we need to work to provide for our families, for our households, or you're worse than an unbeliever.
Yeah. And I like how there's an encouragement, right? There's a scripture that can encourage us in that. And keeping just trusting God for our life. But we can claim a promise, right, and apply it to our life. It's in Philippians 4:19. And it says, my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. So just staying encouraged in that. That's one of those things that, we can hold on to that promise, right? That God promises that he's going to meet. He can meet all of our needs, man. He's got everything at his fingertips. So, but go ahead. I'll let you get into your next point.
The next one was tithing. Tithing. And this is a big one because as believers, like it's a command to tithe. It's not just like, man, I do it if I feel like it, or I give a little something. Like, and I think in our culture today, we got more people that give offerings than they actually give like a consistent tithe. And so for those of you guys who don't know what tithing is, you never heard of this concept, you're not churched, or you want to know more about it, like tithing is literally used. This is to support the local church, right? And to grow the kingdom.
Right.
I mean, the number one resources that we have is money, and then we have time. But without money, you can't do anything. And this is how God set this up. And so tithing, you as a member of your local church are to give, most people say 10% out of your income that goes to your local church. And that local church, if it's a healthy, wise, God-fearing, church, is going to use those resources wisely to grow the kingdom. So they're going to use it to do missions, right? To, you got children's ministry, youth ministry, even funding overseas ministry, outreach programs, feeding the homeless. They're going to use those resources that come in to do ministries in the community, right? To be able to share the gospel more, to buy Bibles, to whatever it is. They need to be using that resource, that money, to grow the kingdom of God, right? And so mission trips, to the less fortunate people who haven't heard the gospel, that's what people should be doing. And so there's a lot of Christians, man, that don't want to give that 10%. And they don't even really understand how important it is to give to that church. Like, and I heard some people say before, like, man, but this church ain't got this. And they'll go to a church, they'll leave that church because they say that church doesn't have X, Y, and Z ministry.
Yeah.
But then when you look at them and how much they give, like, you ain't even giving to be able to support that ministry if we wanted to do it. So
that's good.
If you ain't giving, and then 20 other people in the church ain't really giving, how you expect the church to do anything besides just pay the basic bills that they got to pay, like rent or the mortgage, the light and the gas, and everything else that they do to make sure that you're comfortable as you sit in that chair and worship and listen to a sermon.
Yeah.
So
how do you think we can differentiate that, though? You think about, maybe I can pose that question, like, what would you say to that? Maybe the average Christian or that believer, maybe they came into a ministry expecting, or maybe they're being called to a specific ministry and it's not there. And maybe they view it as a necessity or in something they're like a time in need in their life, and it's just not resourced at that church. What would you tell them? Like, what would you?
So what do you mean? Like an example, like a guy comes to a church with his family and like there's no like children's ministry or something?
Something like that, yeah. Or whether it be that or like a marriage ministry, right? That maybe he's in need of, whatever. Maybe his family is in need of a marriage ministry or struggles or whatever the case may be, and it's just not resourced there, right?
Well, I'm not against going to like other churches to get like those resources, right? So say you got a startup church. Every startup church, they got to start somewhere, and the average church doesn't really fully like isn't fully able to operate the way like churches, the kind of the standard that we put on churches here in America, whereas you have the building, and then you have worship team, instruments and all that. Then you have a youth ministry, and then during Sunday service you got to have a kids ministry, which kids ministry is like, it's kind of like fairly new, like the last like 50 years. Kids used to just, when I grew up, we set our butts right there with our parents. It wasn't like, hey, you go to
right
thing, like you sit here, you're gonna listen, don't fall asleep.
You're gonna listen to the same,
or you getting that old church pinch, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I would say that if you're going to a church, if you're called to a church and say that church doesn't have like a marriage ministry, number one, your pastor should be able to counsel you. Your pastor can't counsel you to do like marriage counseling, then I definitely would question why you going to that church. It's like basic stuff, right? But they don't have a marriage ministry or something like that. Man, did you ask why? Did you ask, how can I help us get to this point? We don't have a youth, sir. Like, are you ready to be the change that you want to see in that church?
Yeah. Do you think it's important for the churches to voice that? like voice their purpose, right? You know how like there's a scripture. It's like write your vision, make it plain. You think it's important for churches to voice that? Not to go on a rabbit trail here, but you think
it's cool. We talk about tithing and money and stuff. So
yeah,
I think this is important.
I think it's really important. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think churches should state their business, and I think like churches need to be open and honest about where they are financially.
Yeah,
like don't put on the front like, hey man, if I come to a church, right, and it's like, man, why y'all ain't got no youth ministry? I should be able to get a clear answer. Well, number one, we ain't got enough leaders to do a youth ministry. We don't have the capacity, or we don't have the whatever to do a youth ministry. Whatever the reason is, you should be able to give a clear cut answer, right? We don't have the space, or we don't have whatever it is, the reasons why. Man, we just started, man. We've been in church for a year, like, and we barely got a Bible study. You asking about youth, like,
yeah, you
won't become a member of this church, you start the youth service, like, let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Get some training. You know what I'm saying? And like, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that, yeah, like church, they should be able to give you an answer. If they can't give you an answer, right? If you're a member of a church and you can't see the books and they're hiding stuff, then yeah, those are red flags.
Yeah.
You know what
I think just a lot of churches lack vision, purpose, right? There's a plan that should be written, or at least intended, right? And like things like that should be, I think you can be purposeful in doing those things. So if you lack like a youth ministry, right? Maybe you can take steps and making a vision, writing it down, and then say, hey, we're going to visit a few schools, you know, like easy as that, right? And then therefore it encourages your congregation, like, hey, this is what we did. We visited a few schools. We know that we lack a youth ministry. Maybe we're not prepared at this time to have a youth ministry, but guess what? We are trusting God, right? We're going out, we're reaching out to the youth, and God willing, you know, if that becomes somewhat of a building fund or a vision fund towards that, then maybe you can cater and trust God in that direction. But I think
like I know a church, they were brand new. They started, they only had their church for like one day out of the week, and that's all they was able to use it for. And then eventually they were able to use it more, and now they got the building they can use whatever day they want to use it on, however many days, whatever time is theirs, right? And so guess what? Now the opportunity is, let's get a youth group going, right?
That's good.
We're able to do it. And so then the question comes up, who is going to run this youth ministry, right? We need it, right? It's definitely a need. Who's going to run it? And then you start to see, well, everybody was yesing and amening when we said, let's get a youth. But now it's like, all right, well, who's going to run this ministry? And everybody's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different reasons on why churches are structured the way they're structured and the stuff that they're going through. But as far as like tithing, everybody should be tithing. You should be faithfully giving what you can, right? I'm not gonna hold everybody to like the strong 10%. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, once you pay, after you pay, you know, your tithe, which I think you should be paying your tithes first, it should definitely be a priority. But say you have an emergency, right? Emergency comes up, man, bro, I gotta get my brakes done, dude. That's gonna run me $400. I didn't plan for this. This just happened out of nowhere, or whatever car repair you got to get done. I got to get this done because it's my car and this is how I get around. Got to make sure my family's safe, whatever it is. Yeah. Then after you pay your basic bills and you get your car fixed, like you realize, like, man, I'm only gonna be able to pay. I can't pay the whole 10. I could pay like 70, it's like 7% or 5%, whatever it is. I think God sees that and like, yo, like, do your thing. But all the other times, like, man, I pay my 10%, or I got a set number. I pay 5% consistently every week or every 2 weeks, however you get paid, because that, you know, and that's it. And God is giving the increase and blah, blah, blah. And so the point is, with the tithing, that you should be giving to your local church, whatever church that you're part of, faithfully. You should be giving to that church.
Yeah. And to give give context to what you were saying, it gets found in 2 Corinthians 9:7. It says, each man should give what he has decided in his heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver, and God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, in all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work.
Yeah. So, Amen.
Just wanted to give that context to what you're trying to bring home, because that's true, man. Sometimes, just like in 2 Samuel, right, where it talks about how God doesn't look at the outward appearance, he looks at our heart. And I think that's the more critical thing. I mean, obviously not getting away from the principle of giving consistently your 10%, but also understanding, God's heart for us, as far as giving and understanding where we're at in life and the things that we deal with and things like that.
Definitely teaches you discipline, and it teaches you structure. If you learn anything from tithing, you're going to learn that, right? Discipline, structure. You're going to definitely learn how to, if you say, man, listen, God's called me, I got to give this 10%. And it's going to teach you how to, man, I give God his off the top and I manage everything else. And you're going to see that God's going to bless. He's going to open up doors. Yeah. Right? Like he said, he loves a cheerful giver. And when you give, and you're going to reap what you sow in that area of giving. It's one of the blessings that God says, try me in this and see if I not open up the floodgates of heaven and pour you out a blessing. It's, I think, maybe one or two of those promises that God says to test me right here in the area of giving with money and see how he blesses you. It's one of the only areas that we're allowed to test God. And he says, try me. Try these principles of giving and give with a cheerful heart and see that these windows of heaven these don't open up and be pouring out blessings on you. So
that's good.
I would say to test God in that area, man, and just be faithful. Moving right along, giving, right? Giving to the poor, helping out the neighbors, giving a blessing when you're just feeling led to give a blessing. Like, we live in the most financially blessed societies ever, bro, right now. Yeah. I think somebody put out a report, I can't remember, but they said that there were like 20,000 first generation millionaires or something like that last year or the year before that. I know it was during the pandemic. I just don't remember the year. I don't know if it was 2020 or 2021. But that is amazing, dude, in the middle of a pandemic that we can just make money.
Yep.
We can just make money, like, in your sleep. Like, you want to start a t-shirt business right now? Like, on the computer, start clickety-clacking, come up with some dope designs. Boop. Promoted yourself. You ain't got to pay nobody for marketing. Get your Instagram followers up, all that stuff, and just do the thing. Make TikTok videos to promote it. You doing little dances in your shirts, looking all cool, and then that stuff just blows up. It's like just one of the most amazing times to be alive, man, right now, right? But many, like, they quick to like squander that money, and they blow those blessings that God gives them. As fast as they get it, as fast as it come. I remember Young Jeezy had a line in the song. He said, "Money come fast, so that's how I spin it." Like, and I used to have that same mindset. Like, it comes in fast, it goes out fast.
Right. One hand to the other.
Yeah. But that's not God's plan, right? And so in the New Testament, it makes it very clear that you are blessed to be a blessing, right? You can read about that in what's that, Genesis 12. I believe it's like within the first like 20 verses. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I know it's Genesis chapter 12. And like, to give to the poor, right? Proverbs 19, chapter 19, verse 17. You can read about it in Hebrews 13:16. And to be generous, man, on every occasion. Yeah. Like, this is God's like, we're called to give. Like, God blesses us so that we can be a blessing to others.
Right.
So, man, if you get blessed with $1 million, right? Like, how much of that money is God telling you to just spend on yourself? Like, this is all for me. And nobody getting none of this money. I'm gonna go buy me a Rollie, a lac truck. I'm gonna buy a crib. Like, money's gonna be gone. People who win the jackpot, dude, they be broke within 2 years.
That's crazy.
Like, how did you blow $20 million, $50 million on what? Yeah. Do you remember that guy we knew? It was a guy we knew. I ain't gonna say his name, but this dude got a settlement, 200-something thousand. It was broke in 9 months. Bought a Jeep, hooked the Jeep up, put the lift kit on it, sounds in there. It was like, what? You ain't got no money? What? Well, you ain't investing. You ain't invest? You ain't do nothing? Bruh. This is, man, dude, when we sit back and we receive these blessings, right? We get these inheritance or whatever it is. No matter how they come, they're all blessings from the Lord. Dude, do you prioritize giving? Giving to the less fortunate, homeless, giving to your community, giving not just to your church, right? You pay your tithe at your church, but if you're able to give to other churches, other ministries, are you doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I started to like prioritize, like I give to, he's a famous pastor, I'm not gonna say his name, but like his books have blessed my life, dude.
Yeah.
And dude, I've donated, not like thousands of dollars, but you know, I've sent a little money here and there. You know what I'm saying? I, you know, support by buying more books, maybe buying 2 or 3 of those books, giving them away to other people. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. That we're called to do when we have these resources to do it, man.
Yeah. I want to share a quote, and this is coming from a website called theblessedbusiness.com. And it talks about God's plan for money, and I just love this little section of kind of how it just kind of it comes in and kind of defines God's purpose for money. It says that money must be connected to purpose. It said everything God does,
that's good.
Everything God does or creates has purpose and meaning. Money is no different. It's that God has a purpose for giving financial blessings to his people. It says when wealth is divorced from mission, it becomes destructive. That was a powerful quote.
That is powerful.
When money is divorced from mission.
Who said that?
This is Pastor Caleb Adams. I think that's they're a church in Memphis. And then there was another small brief description. It says that money is amoral, right? And to define that,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it says it isn't good or evil in and of itself. It says just like a brick can be used to beat someone up or do harm, it can be used to build a hospital. Money is subject to the whims of its owner. Money isn't intended to be hoarded by greed or used to manipulate others. Rather, it is God's plan that money be used for providing for our needs and furthering the kingdom mission. So definitely we can be encouraged with that. I love how it just kind of ties that money and missions, right? The purpose behind that is they go together. They shouldn't be divorced from one another. There's a purpose on why God blesses us with the resources, and it's not for ourselves, right? I love there's a scripture, I think in Philippians 2:4 or 2:8. It talks about just that our purpose, right? Principle that we have to look out for the interests of others and not ourselves, right? Do nothing out of selfish ambition, but instead look into the interests of others. I think that's the principle, man. And obviously there are scriptures that say that money's the root of all evil, and all these different things. But we're called to be wise. We're called to be, good stewards of our money. use it wisely, and look for opportunities to grow it, save it, and be able to resource them so that we can be a blessing to others. And I know that I was blessed with the opportunity a little bit over a year ago. I ended up going to the Maverick City concert, and in there they do such a blessed job at they have missions there where throughout their little like intercessions and stuff like that, they come out and they give you opportunities to give to missions and things that they're supporting. I ended up supporting a boy named Sammy in Uganda for a little bit over a year. Even after I was unemployed, I was just like, I felt prompted to. It was a while back that my wife and I were in church, and I felt God speaking to me, and in the adoption field, and being able to look out for the less fortunate, the kids that are out there that are not adopted and things like that. So we were blessed to have that opportunity, and I think it's a perfect example of us just, even if we had the little, right? I wasn't in the best place in my life or financially, but I was able to give what I could.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're called to do, and definitely I see the purpose, right, where God intended for us to be wise with finances and money and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you made the next point was building, and it's building an inheritance, right, for future generations.
Yeah,
like that's what we should be doing with our money. There's nothing wrong with accumulating like wealth and passing it on to your children, right? In fact, like the more financial security and power you give them, the more effective they can be, right? And continuing on the work for the kingdom, right? If you don't leave your kids nothing, then they're continuing to work. I mean, the cycle just starts over again. But when you leave your kids money, you leave them an inheritance, and you showed them how to manage that inheritance, dude, they can use that to, bless more people, continue to grow the kingdom, continue to do more homeless outreach, continue to go on missions, in these less fortunate countries, continue to do there's still places that don't got clean water. I can't believe that. In 2022, there's places that don't have clean water.
Yeah.
And we live in America where we have an abundance of money and we're able to make money. We can fund these things. I remember, I think the rapper Bizzle, he made the album, I think it was Well Wishes, and he donated all the money to start a well. I forget what country, but all the money that went over there was like $40,000 that they raised from his album sales, and to actually get a well of water, of clean water, to this village of people that needed it. I just think like, man, dude, like he did it. He took all the money that he made, right? Bizzle, he's more famous now, but at that time he wasn't as big as he is now. And for him to take the money that he probably could have used on his family, but took that to glorify God, and give people clean drinking water, dude, that's amazing, bro.
That is awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what we're called to do as Christians. If you're a follower of God, at one point or another, there should be a consistent, desire, right, to be able to be a blessing to somebody, man, or to some type of mission, things like that. Yeah. So,
God says, man, definitely. He says to leave a large inheritance, man, is a legacy of a righteous life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that's just encouraging. And last point that I want to make, right, is enjoying life. Not just, obviously enjoying. I don't know how I was just going to say that, but anyway, enjoy life. Make money and enjoy life, right? God wants us to enjoy our money. He wants us to enjoy our money the right way, right? Don't start having like orgies and menage a trois and start doing all these drugs, buying kilos of coke and stuff like that. Not like that. Don't be on like, what's that dude, Jeff Epstein, the doc they put out on F. Don't be on that type of stuff, bro. Hiring masseuses and acting crazy. Don't do that. Right. God wants us to enjoy our money, but in a righteous, holy way. Right.
Right. There's a right and there's a wrong way.
The Bible says that He richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Right. But this is the last part of the plan. Right. We won't get to do these things until you get everything else in order. Right. So there's an order to things. Right. So provide for your family. Right. Let me just list these off, man. Providing, tithing, giving, building, and then you're going to be able to enjoy, right? Enjoy your money. And then that getting this out of order, when you get these 5 things out of order, then they can wreck your financial life. I've experienced it firsthand, right? I'm pretty sure Eddie can attest. He's seen it in other people's, and he's seen it in my life, and he sees it in other people's lives. Like, man, when you don't allow God's perspective in managing your money and you live that out, man, you just start going through the cycle of like always being in debt, always trying to get ahead. And it's like, when is it gonna stop? And it stops when we get these 5 things right, man. Providing, tithing, giving, building, and then lastly, enjoying life, enjoying the money, right? Enjoying the harvest that comes in, man, the hard work that we put in, taking your family on a vacation, man. I took my first family vacation this year by the grace of God, right? Had an amazing time, went to Miami, man, my daughter's birthday, first time our family went on a flight. It was an amazing feeling, man, but it came from hard work, being disciplined, putting things to the side, and doing things in a godly way, like using godly biblical wisdom to make that happen. It just didn't fall into my lap like, here you go. You know what I'm saying? And so we wanna make sure that we do those things, man. If you don't know anything, if you don't take anything from this episode, take those things that we just talked about, man, and structuring your life around financial wisdom, right, according to the word. And so, man, if Eddie, you ain't got anything, man, I want to talk.
Touched everything.
I think we touched everything. And so, just from the biblical, right, things that we've learned, right, we want to move on into the future and be able to do these things. So we got some quick announcements for you guys, in regards to the channel and to the podcast. So, like we told you guys, this is the final of season 1, right? We got 12 episodes. Thank you guys so much again for rocking with us all this time. We're going to be pausing for I don't know how long, but we're going to enjoy the rest of the summer, get our kids up and running in the schools. My kids are going to be going back to in-person school after 2 years of homeschooling. So that's going to be an adjustment. And then we'll see like how our schedules align and go through that whole process. But I have some things that I'll be doing where I'll be bringing you guys off season, right? Where I'll be interviewing different people and having real deep discussions and dialogues about some real hot topics, some things that's going on here, Chicago, all that type of stuff. So you'll see that's coming like literally soon, right? So stay tuned for that. I got more biblical content that I'll be dropping for the YouTube channel, so you'll see that. And then we got merch coming. Merch coming. Yeah. So we got shirts. I got a hat I'm designing. Probably have a coffee mug or 2. You'll see when it comes. It's gonna come, and I hope you guys like it. Just another way for you guys to be able to support this channel. All the money that comes in is literally gonna go to bettering the channel. So we're not in this to like get rich. If God opens the floodgates of heaven and pour out blessings, then we will accept that. But it's all, man, what we receive, we're gonna put back into the channel to expand it, to make it better, man. Better mics, better backgrounds. We want to keep you guys entertained. So that's what we will plan on doing, man. And all these things that we want to do, they cost money. And so again, thank you guys so much, man. This has been an amazing life lesson.
Appreciate you guys.
12 episodes with a weird perspective, man. Again, thank you guys so much. But my name is Darry. It's my home dog, my broski right here. E-Rod, a.k.a. Eddie, a.k.a. E-Daddy, all the E's. This is The Weird Perspective, man. Thank you guys again.
God bless y'all. Love y'all.
Until season 2, I'll see y'all in the off season. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.